This is the Honda CR-V. Many consider this as the benchmark of crossovers. It's a fusion of space, practicality, everything you could ever want in a crossover, and then some. But the CR-V isn't the only crossover. There are many more just like it. However, some aren't as popular. But does that also mean they aren't as good?
Okay, so if you were watching Karate Kid, this would definitely be Johnny Lawrence. But the question is, can this be Daniel LaRusso? Okay, for those of you who don't watch Cobra Kai, simply said, can the underdog take on the jock? Well, let's meet the underdog.
The Tiggo 8 is the largest SUV in Chery's stable. Similar to the CR-V, the Tiggo 8 has third-row seats. It also has a monocoque platform, which means it promises car-like driving dynamics, just like the CR-V.
So at a glance, they may seem similar in the sense that they're both 7-seater alternatives to the PPV. But there are some key differences, starting with what's under the hood. Now they both have relatively small displacements and use forced induction to increase engine power. But the Tiggo 8 has a 1.5-liter gasoline engine which pumps out 145 horsepower and 210 Newton meters of torque, while the CR-V has a diesel engine which pumps out 120 horsepower and 300 Newton meters of torque. So one has more horsepower while the other has more torque. Let's see what that translates to behind the wheel. So I've already reviewed both the CR-V and the Tiggo 8 in previous videos. And if you want to watch those, I'll include the links in the description below. So in this video, I'm not going to cover all the details, but rather just focus on the main differences between the two. So first, let's start with power delivery. And I mentioned earlier that the CR-V has more torque. So that means it feels lighter on its feet and it's quicker to respond to your throttle inputs. However, when you max it out, it doesn't feel as fast as the Tiggo 8. But for putting around town, this will do you just fine. This is also mated to a 9-speed automatic transmission, which really helps with its fuel efficiency. And it also means this has really short gears. Now, together with the diesel engine and a 4,500 RPM redline, you'll find that when you accelerate hard, this will shift quite often. Good thing though that the shifts are almost seamless. Compared to the Tiggo 8, the CR-V steering is a bit heavier, which I like because it gives a bit more feedback. Plus, it has a slightly quicker ratio, so it's quicker to respond to your steering inputs. Now it's time to see how the Tiggo 8 drives. So in terms of power delivery, this is the flip side of the CR-V because it has more power but less torque. This feels a bit heavier, but as you get higher up in the revs, you really start to feel that this is the faster one and it has more power. This also has a 6-speed dry type dual clutch transmission, and the fact that it's mated to a gasoline engine means it has a higher rev limit. So if you're the kind of driver who likes to take it to the red line every now and then, you'll definitely have more fun in the Tiggo 8. And that's really the main difference between the two, because both strike a really good balance as far as handling and comfort is concerned. And while I really like the steering feel of the CR-V, I think the Tiggo 8 offers a bit more refinement in the sense that the noise of a diesel engine doesn't creep into the cabin. Although it is worth noting that the DCT of the Tiggo 8 does jerk a bit under extremely hellish stop and go traffic. But otherwise, it's a pretty refined ride. But we all know that crossovers have a few more boxes to tick aside from being decent driving machines. So let's take a closer look at the interiors to see what's what. The Tiggo 8's cabin is breathtakingly gorgeous, and what I like about it the most is it didn't have to go over the top to stand out. There's soft touch materials throughout the dash and everywhere your body parts are likely to come into contact with or rest on. You even get ambient lighting, dual zone climate control, and power seats for the driver. Your infotainment comes in the form of this 10-inch touchscreen. It doesn't have Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, but you can still hook up your phone. But it does have a 360 camera, and using it doesn't require a college degree, and I like the fact there are physical controls for most of the main functions. You also get a 7-inch LCD for your instrument cluster. The Tiggo 8's gear selector is conventional, which to me is a preference, but what really makes this interior pop is this panoramic sunroof. Occupying the second row of the Tiggo 8, you'll find that there is more than enough room. There's adequate leg and headroom, and I had this adjusted pretty far back, yet there's so much room for my legs. Now, as far as the quality of materials are concerned, everything here is still soft touch. It feels just as premium as what you'd find up front. In terms of toys, you get rear air vents, one charge port, and the center armrest with 2 cup holders. Okay, so I'm here at the back of the Tiggo 8. And like many third row seats, this isn't exactly the best seats in the house. But even an oversized adult like me can fit back here with legs intact. As far as comfort is concerned, it's okay. However, you will need to raise the headrest so your back doesn't lean against it. Now that's covered, let's see how this compares to the third row of the CR-V. So similar to the third row of the Tiggo 8, you don't have to be a gymnast to get here. And the good thing about this is you can sit down without having your knees brush up against the back of the second row seats. But in terms of space, this does feel a bit wider, and the back of the seats are a bit taller. Plus, you also get these rear air vents, which you don't find in the Tiggo 8. Okay, so when we get to the second row of the CR-V, it's hard to tell which has more room between this and the Tiggo 8. But the good thing is, similar to the Tiggo 8, you can also move the seats forwards and backwards, and there's a huge range there. Plus, you can also recline the back of the seats, which is a huge plus. In terms of toys, you also get rear air vents here, 2 charge ports, a center armrest with 2 cup holders. So sitting in the cockpit of the CR-V is also a treat. And right off the bat, you can already tell that this is well equipped. And there's little left to be desired here. It's just that the CR-V uses a more tacky approach to feel premium, with the use of fake wood inserts and fake stitching. You also get a smaller infotainment system at just 7 inches. But in terms of functionality, this performs just as well. In fact, when driving, I find this a little bit more intuitive to use because of the physical buttons. Now, there are physical buttons in the Tiggo 8, but this just feels more intuitive, although this only has a rear and side view camera. The instrument cluster of the CR-V is also fully digital and is slightly more legible compared to the Tiggo 8. And instead of using a conventional shift lever, this has an electronic push-button type gear selector. It may take some getting used to, but it really does declutter the center console, which gives you comparably more storage space. But as far as storage is concerned, the trunk is really where it'll matter the most. So let's head on back there. Okay, so with the third row up, there's just enough space here for a few groceries. But when you fold these seats down, you actually get 472 liters of trunk space, which is more than enough. So like the CR-V, this has just enough space for weekend shopping. But when you fold the seats down, you get a whopping 890 liters of trunk space. Also worth noting is the fact that it's easier to get into the third row of the Tiggo 8 because moving the second row only requires one simple motion. However, the door doesn't open a full 90 degrees as what you'd find in the CR-V. As far as the exterior goes, looks are subjective, so leave a comment and show some support for which of these two takes the cake in the looks department. But in terms of exterior kit, both these vehicles are almost neck to neck. They both get LED headlights and DRLs up front, 18-inch alloys and side mirrors with turn indicators along the side, and LED tail lamps at the back.
On top, both sport a shark fin antenna. The Chery Tiggo 8 retails for 1,340,000 pesos, while this version of the CRV costs 1,868,000 pesos. So that probably begs the question, why even compare these two and why pay more? Well, hear me out. It's still a good comparison because in terms of features and performance, they actually go head to head. So why pay more? Well, that's because the CRV can make it up to your wallet at the fuel pump because this baby does 10 to 18 kilometers per liter in city driving, and it can get you as much as 24 kilometers per liter on the highway. The Tiggo 8 is a bit more thirsty, only doing 8 to 10 kilometers per liter in the city and 15 kilometers per liter on the highway. And that's not bad for a gasoline engine hauling something this big. Plus, it gets a 3-year service maintenance plan that saves you about 60,000 pesos. And that translates to about 1,600 pesos in gas per month for the next 3 years. So that's not a bad deal. So it really seems like a tough choice, but it really boils down to this. If you're a brand snob who values fuel efficiency, then the choice is clear. Go for the CRV. But if you're someone who likes luxury at an affordable price, then the choice is clear as well. You go for the Chery Tiggo 8. So personally, what would I drive home in? Well,
Okay, so I'm in the Tiggo 8 because this is the car I came here with. So I really didn't have much of a choice. But on a serious note, if you consider the performance and the features you get with the Tiggo 8, especially at its price point, it's really hard to beat. Thanks for watching.